Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 2 of Conversations About America, where we talk about important and relevant topics. My distinguished panel is Essence Rains. She's a hostess of her own podcast called Deceptively Unique. And Robert Gonzalez, author of a book called Eagle's Claws for Freedom's Cause. I feel privileged to have both of you with me tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
I look forward to our conversation. So tonight we're going to be talking about the American Revolution for a little bit. And then I'm going to ask you all to comment on a question. Is it time for another one? Some people say we need another American Revolution. So let's get into that and see what happens. Can anybody remember what exactly happened before the revolution? What got it all stirred up?
What got it all stirred up?
Yeah.
Taxation without representation.
Yeah. That was a big deal, wasn't
it? It sure was.
Yeah.
That's not good for any nation.
Yeah.
That's a little rhyme for the day, but go ahead.
Since you missed that conversation last time, Essence, and we got into the Boston Tea Party. Do you have any comments on that before we move on?
No, it was a rebellion that ironically they actually turned around and adopted most of those policies in today's society. So
yeah. And do you remember what the British did as a result of the Boston Tea Party?
I will have to go back and double check, but I did actually take notes for the conversation from last week. But you can refresh me, please.
Okay. Well, they did pass some laws called the colonists called them the Intolerable Acts. And I forget what the British called them. It was something quite different. But the colonists said that they were intolerable. And one of them was the Stamp Act. Do you remember what the Stamp Act was all about?
Playing from D60ThinQ5G.
It seems that Alexa knows what that is. I am not as familiar with that.
Well, let me give you a little refresher here. This happened in March 22 of 1765. Britain passes the Stamp Act, imposing a tax on legal documents, newspapers, even playing cards. It's the first direct tax on the American colonists, and it was hotly resisted. So yeah, they were wanting to apply tax to playing cards and any kind of stationery. It had to have a certain seal on it or it couldn't be used. And it was just, they went tax crazy.
Okay. And that was in 1765, correct?
That was in 1765. Yeah. And what happened as a result of that, the British sent in more troops to keep the peace. They said the people in Massachusetts had pretty much gone wild and they needed to be handled, and they sent in a bunch more British troops to occupy Boston. And so who can bring me up to speed on what happened after that? What do you think? Do you remember that?
British troops occupied Boston.
Yes, they did. And how did that go over?
Not that led to the Boston Massacre, I think, right?
Wasn't too good, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't sit well with the locals.
Yeah. Do you remember exactly what happened?
That was I think Robert was correct. That was the Boston Massacre, where it might have been, I think it was 5 or 6 people that actually got killed from that. And some other people got they got a little razzle dazzled, and they was like, hey, I believe that these colonists are upset.
Yeah. That was an understatement, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, the British soldiers were there to keep the peace, and the colonists, some of them were, I think, throwing rocks and cussing the soldiers and all that. And the soldiers weren't supposed to shoot them, but one of them started shooting, and then, like you said, several of them got killed, and I don't think anybody ever stood trial for that or got prosecuted, if I remember correctly.
Mm.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
But do you remember why the British people wanted to pass all those taxes to start with? Do you remember what they were raising money for? It was the French and Indian War that they had just finished, and they had incurred a whole lot of expenses, and they needed money to come in to pay for all of that. So
Oh,
that sounds very familiar, doesn't it?
I was thinking that. I was thinking that exact same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
today, they do all kinds of things to get money
Yeah.
for their wars.
Yeah.
One war after another. So do you remember who formed an alliance with the slaves? Was it the British or the colonists? Or both?
Both.
Yeah. Yeah, some fought for the colonists and some fought for the British. And the French got into it. You remember how that went? No?
I slept through that part in history class. I did.
I don't mean this to sound like a test and put you all on the spot. So
No, I'm learning. So I'm listening to y'all.
The British troops sent in a lot of people to, first of all, to take in, well, not a lot, I forget how many, well, I guess there was a lot. I think there was a few hundred or maybe a few thousand into, was it Concord, I think, in a couple of cities to take some of their artillery. They had heard the colonists had a lot of weapons and they wanted to confiscate the weapons. And that did not go over well. So that's when all hell broke loose and everything started happening so fast that, nobody really could get a hold on it. Then I think it was 1775 when they officially declared independence or started the war or something like that.
Yes, 1775 to 1777.
Yeah, that was a long time, wasn't it?
2 years is pretty long for a war, yes.
The French, they were on the side, they sided with the British. With the colonists. In February 1778, as a result of the Patriot victory at Saratoga and American diplomatic efforts, France allies itself with the new American government. And French financial and military aid will prove critical in winning the war. The Continental Army learned about the French alliance, and that made a big difference. So, okay, I got to get you two involved here, so I'm going to shut up. What are your comments or on any of that?
Well, a couple things I learned. I think we touched on this last week. I didn't know that George Washington and Benjamin Franklin were both opposed to the Tea Party.
Yeah.
They felt like personal property was something not to be they thought it was sacred, and you didn't do that sort of thing with personal property. So, and Benjamin Franklin even offered to pay the British for the tea that was dumped into the harbor. That was kind of interesting. Other thing I learned this week was I knew about Benedict Arnold, but I didn't know why he was upset and why he switched sides, and it had to do with promotions. He never really got promoted. He kept getting passed over. Yeah.
He was a disgruntled employee, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I don't know what the reasons were, but that's what made him change sides. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. That's something new. That was something new to me.
Yeah.
But the more I read about this, the more I learn about it, the more I realize that we really haven't learned very much from it all, have we? I
No.
mean, don't we keep doing the same things?
Which is the definition of insanity.
Exactly. Keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. Yeah. And how many wars have we had since then?
Oh, yeah, it's continuous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh,
Of course, a lot of people said that the Civil War was another American Revolution.
mm.
And how many millions died during the Civil War? I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but that was a bunch.
Yeah. Yeah, there were quite a few. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but I know there were a lot of casualties.
Yeah, yeah, there were. Uh, and a lot of people still today, are upset about taxes. Nobody wants more taxes. Of course, nowadays, the poor folks are paying a lot more taxes than the rich folks. And that's part of the reason why some people say it's time for another revolution. So what do you think about that concept, Robert? Do you think that's something ridiculous or necessary or?
I think it's ongoing as we speak. I think there's a lot of patriotic citizens rising up now against what's happening and kind of seeing another revolution, but not with shots being fired, but there's rumblings underground for sure.
Yeah. What do you think, Essence?
Yeah, it's definitely we're definitely in the midst of a revolution. There are a lot of individuals, especially minorities, people of color, that are waking up and they are starting to do their own due diligence, and we are starting to rebel. We are not accepting what is being handed to us anymore.
Yeah.
So,
So what do you think is really keeping that stirred up?
um, in my opinion, it is just people that's just getting tired. People are tired of uh what we've been given. What I don't know about y'all, little stuff like, if and I am completely straight all the way across the board, insurance, I don't drink and drive, no drugs, everything is legit. If I get pulled over, I am horrified.
Yeah.
Horrified. And this is something that only people of color, and I don't care who you are, if you are a person of color, and I am an ex-CO. I know that's on the lower end of the spectrum of law enforcement, but I am a former CO, and I am horrified, and that's just one little tiny blip in the spectrum of stuff that people are rebelling against now.
Yeah.
All the police brutality, and that, again, that's just one tiny little blip, and people are starting to, with the rise of social media, the internet, more people are becoming aware
Yeah.
of what has been going on for hundreds of years.
Yeah. Yeah. The fact that everybody has a smartphone that has a video camera on it has really made a big difference in getting things like this out to the public,
Mm-hmm.
and even the deal with Derek Chauvin, if it hadn't been for that teenage girl that took that video, we may never have even known about that.
Right.
He is a good example of what's got a lot of people upset, and rightfully so. And last summer was a very, very hot summer in more ways than one.
It
As
was.
y'all recall, not only was COVID driving everybody nuts, but the killings and the protesting, and of course the protesters got a bad name because of the people that blended in with the protesters, the rioters,
Yes.
and those that
Yes.
destroyed property. And it's hard for a lot of people to distinguish the two.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, which set of protesters were you talking about? Were you talking about the Black Lives Matter protesters or the ones that stormed the White House?
Well, I was talking about the protesters, but yeah, the one that stormed the White House, that's a know a whole different level of,
Mm-hmm.
I
I mean,
mean,
I'm be honest with you. Had it been black folks doing that, we would not have gotten within 2 miles
yeah,
of the White
yeah,
House.
yeah, I agree. It was definitely a coup attempt, you know, it was and
Weren't the police letting them in? There's video footage of the police letting people in.
some of them did, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the ones that didn't, they got attacked. One of them got killed and didn't a couple more of them die later or commit suicide or something?
I think
One was, they said he died of natural causes, a police officer of a stroke, I think.
Okay. But that was, and a lot of people are trying to put the protest of the Black Lives Matter people in the same category as the people that stormed the Capitol, and that's not the same thing.
no,
It is not the same thing at all.
no.
So go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you think that anything will really come of the people that were arrested for storming the Capitol? Do you think they'll go to jail, any of them?
No.
No?
Some of them are in jail now.
And how long? I'm curious as how long they will remain there.
Yeah. But I don't, they're just awaiting trial, the ones that can't afford to get out, right? I mean, they haven't, has any of them been to trial yet?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Yeah. So,
A lot of people allege that the whole thing was not spontaneous, that it was pre-planned.
oh yeah. Well, yeah, they talked about it in the media for months, even Trump himself. I mean, he did pretty much broadcasted the whole thing.
Yeah, they actually had a whole website that they I do not remember the name of it right now. I will have to think of that later. But there was actually a website where the Proud Boys and a lot of the Trump supporters were flocking to because Twitter, Instagram, Facebook has started limiting their posts and their tweets and the correspondence from that. So they actually went to a whole nother platform so that they could correspond. And for some reason, the government just did not know. They had no idea that this protest, this attack on the White House was going to happen. I don't understand how that happened, but that's what they're claiming.
Yeah. But there had to be some people in the Capitol building, some politicians that were in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
I mean, there had to be. And didn't those that rioted, those that stormed the Capitol, didn't they even put up a noose outside that was going to hang some of the senators?
Really, I hadn't seen that.
I
Yes.
think they did.
They
Really?
actually kind of sort of took like a whole platform. Somebody built a platform, and they were sliding that up to the White House door.
Yeah. Yeah, they were going around even looking for Vice President Pence. I mean, Trump turned on him at the last minute. So
Mm-hmm.
they obviously were very serious.
They were serious, and for the life of me, I just could not figure out what exactly they were protesting. Were they protesting Trump having to get out of the White House? Were they protesting the election that they didn't agree with? What was their gripe?
Well, there was all the big lie that's still going on that Trump really won the election. Right? Is that the way you understand it, Bob? Is that what they was upset about?
I think they were there to protest what they felt was a stolen election, that it was in the dead of night, they came out with these millions of votes in every, in all these swing states, and that they just didn't feel it was right. They thought it was crooked, and that's why they were there. And I think they were expecting Pence to at least refer this situation back to the states so they could kind of sort this out rather than go forward with the result as it was. And I think that's what they were upset about and what they're still upset about.
But Pence didn't have the authority to do that.
From what I have heard, he could have referred it back to the states.
But it would have been illegal, right?
Well, I've heard different opinions on that. Some people say it would have been totally legal. I've heard other ones say not. So I don't know, but
Yeah. So there are also people that talk about we need to have another civil war, or we're going to have another civil war. And is that necessary? And is that the same thing as another revolution? What do you think, Essence?
Um, I think that they kind of sort of coincide. It just depends on clarify exactly what you mean by the Civil War, so I can
Well,
know which way to go.
you know, the part of the people, some people say it's going to be blacks against whites. Some people say it's going to be the rich against the poor. Some people say it's going to be Republicans against Democrats. I mean, different people have different scenarios, but just people choosing sides and fighting against each other, dividing the country even further.
That war has already been going on for hundreds of years. That is something that has never, it has always been, they've always depicted black people pit black people against white people, and Democrats against Republicans, and the rich against the poor. And right now what's going on is the margins are widening, especially between the rich and the poor. The poor, who generally is the black people, the minorities, that margin is widening at a really, really fast rate. I think more importantly, what's going on is more people of color are starting to unite. There is some unity that is going on. And with the unity that's going on, it is starting to scare people.
Yeah.
Because if black people unite, we're not like the savages that the racist white people think we are. Once we start uniting and stop fighting against each other, that in and of itself is going to be a civil war, because we don't realize the power that we truly wield. And I'm not talking violence or anything of that nature. The black people are intelligent. Black people, the power of the black dollar is dangerous. If every single black person in America decided to not go to Walmart just tomorrow, that will be a huge hit for Walmart.
Yeah.
So it's that, in that sense, yes, I believe that a new civil war is starting to rise.
So you think it's going to be the rich against the poor then? Is that pretty much what you're saying?
I don't even think it's so much as that, because I believe that it's people that are rich that are tired of the disparities and the things that are pushed and forced upon the poor people of the world. It's just we don't. I don't know. Yeah. I'm sorry.
And it really goes on all over the world. It's not just in the United States. And the way things are nowadays, the economies are all mixed together, and anything that happens.
It is, but in the United States is where you see more of a divide.
Yeah. Other
countries actually get a little bit more support. It's not as much division going on in other countries. In the United States, you see more of the differences in the rankings of people, I guess, the hierarchy. Not sure.
So, but do you think the Black Lives Matter protests last summer, do you think that helped us along in any way, or done us harm, or does it have any effect on us altogether?
I'm gonna say this. At the very least, it is starting to raise awareness. Nowadays, if things aren't trending, it doesn't really get any publicity. People don't pay attention to it. So at least it raised some awareness of just a little bit of what Black people are going through.
Yeah. You agree with that, Robert?
Yeah, I think the internet, and especially the big tech, is where most of the attention is focused.
Yeah.
If you're gonna get noticed, you need to be noticed there. Yeah.
Uh, I think, yeah, essence, you was talking about the website that a lot of the Trump supporters were using last time. I think it was Parler. Is that what you were talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if that still exists or not. I know I joined once just out of curiosity, and it didn't take long for me to get sick of it. I mean, it was like a bunch of people that worshiped Donald Trump, you know?
Um, they used, a lot of people use that as a scapegoat. Um,
You mean use Trump as a
I
scapegoat?
honestly don't think, yes, yes, they use that. They're really racist anyway, and then they just use that as a way to cover up the racistness. And I'm not saying that Donald Trump is a racist or not. I really don't think that Donald Trump is as bad as a lot of people made him out to be. Do I think he's the brightest crayon in the box? No. But he's not as bad as they tried to make him out to be. But I think that a lot of people, for them to just the fact that they put together their thoughts, time, and effort to bring a noose up to the White House protest shows me that is more going on than meets the eye. Is more than just, oh, we love Trump and y'all can't get him out of here, or no, the election is wrong. These are the wrong votes. No, what was the news for?
Yeah. So what do you think is going to happen with Trump? You know, he had a big rally last night, and there were a lot of people there.
Trump had discovered that he has a lot of power. I think he's going to capitalize off of it. This country is built off of slavery and capitalism, and he is definitely going to capitalize off of all of that so that he can get back into whatever position it is that he wants.
Yeah.
Do I think that he has a genuine love for people? I think he has a genuine love for America. I do think that.
Do you
I do
really?
think that.
You give him more credit than I do.
No, I do. I think that he has a genuine love for America, but especially for the American dollar.
He definitely likes that. Yeah. So, do you think? I mean, you said we're in the middle of this revolution. So, do you see it turning violent? Do you think it's going to turn into a violent revolution?
Well, if it does, it won't be on Trump's part. I think he's done everything he in his power to have that not happen. He could have easily have turned that thing on January 6th could have been much worse than it was had he continued to push. I think he backed off and he let emotions simmer down, and where we are today. And I think that rally yesterday shows the support that he's got of the people. I think he's the people's president. I think he cares about this country. I think he cares about the ordinary people in this country, just in the same vein that Abraham Lincoln did. I think he's our modern day Abraham Lincoln. Um, I don't think there's a mean bone or a hateful bone in Trump's body. I really don't. And I don't think the dollar is what's motivating him. Now, the guy's been working for free and he's been donating his salary when he was president, every good dollar that he got paid, he put back into charity. So I don't think that he's doing it for the money.
Okay, Essence, what do you think about what he just said?
I just have this one question. Wasn't Trump the one that actually called for everybody to assemble at the White House?
He did, but he said peacefully. It was supposed to be a peaceful rally, and I think maybe he and his supporters were blindsided and they were set up.
Has that ever happened within the history of presidents, where they ask for their followers and supporters to assemble on the White House grounds after they lost an election?
Well, they didn't feel they lost. They feel they were stolen. They were robbed.
Yeah, but has that ever happened? Has any president ever? Because there have been some elections where, wasn't it? what was it, Bush, where the ballots got missing in Florida?
Yeah,
Bush and
Okay.
Al Gore, yeah.
Okay. So has
that
there
was
ever been has there ever
nothing
been a
has ever.
time where there has been a president that has lost an election and encouraged his people, albeit peacefully, to assemble and protest for their loss?
I think they were there not so much to protest, but to suppose show support for him and for for their vote. Their vote was thrown out the window, and I don't think in any election in America has something so blatant, so in this large a scale ever happened. Where in the middle of the night you're seeing truckloads of ballots coming in from all over the place. You know,
There's footage of
in
this.
truckloads. What?
There's footage of this.
Oh yeah, there was footage of this. They stopped counting in certain states. I think it was in Georgia, in Atlanta. They stopped counting, and then they sent everybody home. And then during that time they sent everybody home, they brought a bunch of ballots in there. That's all on footage. All of this stuff is coming out. So keep your eye in the next few weeks on these audits that are happening. I think it's going to show a lot of this stuff.
So all of that. So has it just started emerging?
It's been out there, but I think they've been meticulously going through every little detail to
Okay,
get.
so that goes back to what I said earlier, because back then when he actually called for people to go to the White House to I guess support his loss, I don't know. Has there ever been any other president at any other time that has ever done that?
No, but I don't think we've ever had a situation like this before, ever.
Uh with tensions already running high, if you are a person that truly loves the people, with tensions already running high, and you know what's going on in your country, just like when you go home, when you get off from work, you know if there's something wrong in your household. And so as a president, this is supposed to be your household. Okay, so you already know the tensions are running high. You are not going to sit up there and tell people, hey man, look, they are bothering me, something is going on, I need y'all to come roll up. It doesn't really happen like that. So for him to do that, to call people there to the White House with so many rising tensions going on within the country, I'm just saying that wasn't the very brightest thing to do. That goes back to what I said. He's not the brightest crayon in the box, and he was still looking to fulfill his own agenda.
Well, I think they exercised their right to protest, which every American has that right. I mean, it got a little out of hand, but I'm not sure that it was their fault. I mean, these investigations.
Whose fault was it?
Whose fault was it?
For them to go there attacking people, they were killing people. It wasn't their fault. Nobody else. Oh, the president told them to go up there.
They
He
were
just didn't
inviting
tell them
them
to do all
into
of
the
that.
Capitol. The police were escorting them in. I mean,
The police. Oh, that another what I said earlier. But I'm afraid of the police. The police was escorting them in.
yeah, there's video of that. I mean, we've seen that on the news.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I am very passionate about what I believe in, and there's a lot going on in this country. A lot.
I don't apologize for it. That's why I wanted you to be here. I wanted your voice to be heard. Just as Robert, I wanted his voice to be heard also. I mean, and this is a good example of the great divide in America now, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, this conversation is pretty much typical of what goes on all over America now. And both sides think, we're right and you're wrong. And I don't see it coming together. I don't see it happening.
It can, but the biggest thing is we are going to have to actually start listening to each other. People listen to respond, but they don't listen to understand.
Yeah. Well, do you think the difference between like what Robert was saying, Essence, and like what you were saying, Robert, you think that's a difference of opinion, or is it somebody totally separated from reality?
I don't think the problem is Trump. I think the problem is people who are in power want to hold on to that power, and they use us to keep that power, and that division that gets sown is what they feed it. You know, it's almost like they can't get away from it. I think that you know, person against person, Democrat, Republican, white, black, this, that. I think that fuels this whole thing all the time. I think that the one who's trying to bring it together, I believe, is Trump. Whether he'll succeed at that, it still remains to be seen. I hope he does. You know, I think he will. We'll just have to see it. But I don't think Trump is Essence's enemy. He's certainly not my enemy. He's not your enemy, Steve. He's your friend, believe it or not.
Well, I certainly don't see Trump as bringing people together. I just don't see that one. I just don't see that.
Wait a minute, before you go to the next one, I know we're probably coming to an end. Just a quick question. You were saying that you don't think it was Trump that was doing that to try to remain in power. You think it was other people that wanted him to remain in power?
I think that he overwhelmingly won the votes of the people, and the election was stolen from him, from people who want to remain in power and who don't want him in power.
But those people haven't been in power for the past 4 years. So you think that they took control of it because they want to regain power?
Yeah, and stay there.
And who would those people be?
The ones who are in power now.
That's a whole lot of power.
Yeah.
How did Trump get elected if they have that much power to start with?
I think the first time around, it kind of took him by surprise. I think they didn't expect him to win. They didn't take him seriously enough the first time.
Well, I know I didn't expect him to win either. It broke my heart.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, trying to decide between him and Hillary was like, okay, am I going to drink gasoline or am I going to drink this bleach?
Yeah. Yeah.
Neither one were very good choices.
Yeah. So what's the answer? How can America come together? It's radical differences in our
We need to bring God back in, you know, our Christian values that the country is founded upon. It needs to be, we need, you know, prayer, in the Pledge of Allegiance, allowed a prayer in school. We need the 10 Commandments in our courthouses, that kind of thing. If we have a godly nation, we'll have a more moral and a better nation.
Essence, what do you think about that?
I don't believe that we should be pushing Christianity to the masses, especially to Black people who lost their religion, their original religion, from whence we came over here. So no, I disagree respectfully on that. I think that to get us at least starting to go, one, Black people need to start learning about their own history. I think that there needs to be more education for us. And I'm not talking about just regular education out there. It's tons and tons of education. I'm talking about taught in the schools. We need to know from where we come from. We need to know our history. We need to know our religions. Because even though we are equal, we're still not the same. We are different. Our DNA is different. And we should, I'm not saying that we should be judged differently. All I'm saying is we need more education. We need to be more aware of who we are, because our identities were stolen from us.
Yeah, that's true. And it's not just the Black people that need to be taught their history. Mostly the white people need to be taught correct Black history and the contributions that Black folks have made to America. And, you know, I would like to see that happen. And I see hints of it starting to happen a little bit here and there. Wouldn't you agree with that? A little bit.
When it's trending.
Yeah. When it's trending.
Mm-hmm.
So is it trending enough now, do you think? Or?
I think it's trending now until the next wave, somebody falls off of the concert stage, or it's trending right now. I'm not sure how long it's going to be trending, but I am definitely going to be doing my job to make sure that it stays trending.
Yeah. So you think it's pretty much a matter of what the media decides to cover then?
Yes.
What do you think about that, Robert? You think that's true?
The media, I think that's the last place that I would go for any truthful information. I think they just push narratives. They don't really push truth.
Yeah,
I believe that every real American patriot, though, is welcoming to all races, black, white, Italian, Irish, Latin, like me. I mean, you name it. I mean, we're open and welcome for everybody. It's like Martin Luther King said, content of your character. I think that's what most true red-blooded American patriots believe that. I don't think they really care about color or skin, but I think media and other people like to keep that push going because they benefit from it in some weird way.
yeah. Well, the media does do everything in their power to get everything stirred up,
Oh yeah,
and they're very good at that.
yeah,
Very good at
Mhm.
that.
yeah.
It amazed me last year when I ran for US Congress how much false things that they come up with. I mean, I read on different websites about how my wife never went with me on the campaign trail. I don't even have a wife. But that was something for them to gossip about.
I
That's
meant
why
to
she
ask-
wasn't there.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
I meant
But
to
yeah,
ask.
they just look for something to sensationalize.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know you ran as an independent. Did you think about maybe running as a Democrat? They would have treated you differently.
This is a very red state. I mean,
Yeah.
Democrats are not thought very highly of here by most people. It's kind of like on a scale of 1 to 10, the Republicans are rated 9, and I guess the Democrats are 5, and the independents are 2. It's kind of like that. But
Mm.
the millionaire white lady won, and that that wasn't a surprise. But no, I don't want to do it again, Robert. I don't
I
want
know
to.
you said that. Yeah, yeah.
So have you ever considered getting into politics, either one of you?
Me,
Yeah,
I don't know. The more and more I've been thinking about doing something like that, but I don't know. I probably have too many skeletons in my closet. But we all do, though. I guess it's in how you handle the attacks.
the lady that won the race that I was in for US Congress in the first district of Tennessee, the lady that won, get this, her and her husband own a pharmacy, okay?
Mhm.
And several years ago, they got into legal trouble for selling illegal Chinese drugs in their pharmacy as legitimate American approved drugs.
Mhm.
Her husband went to prison for 4 years over that. She
Wow.
became a millionaire and got elected. So do you think that's skeletons? I mean, that didn't seem to affect her run at all.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have the millions they have backing them, but
Yeah, I was about to say money talk.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Evidently.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
So what else needs to be said about the whole new revolution possibility thing? What else do we need to say about it? Or have we beat that drum enough?
Let me just say one thing that I think will go a long way in the healing a lot of these tensions are if we know that our elections are real and transparent and that everybody's vote counts equally, regardless of which side wins, as long as the votes are there and they were done fair and square, I think most people could accept that, most good people. And if we could get that in our elections from, this point forward, I think that would be a good thing.
Do you think the rumor or the big lie or whatever you want to call it that Trump won the election, Do you think that needs to be squashed before we can have any kind of a resolution?
Well, I don't think it needs to be squashed. I think it needs to be proven that it did. And I think they're in the process of doing that right now.
So nothing can change your mind on that? You really think Trump won and that's the end of it?
I don't not only think he won, I think he won in a landslide, a historic victory. And I think they're going to prove that here over the next several weeks and months.
Do you think that's going to happen, Essence?
It quite possibly could, but I will be honest with you. Even if that happens, it is not going to heal anybody. It'll heal the Trump supporter. It will heal the Trump side. What will truly start to heal is education. Put Black people on equal playing fields. Give us free college education. Like we don't need, Black people don't need the reparations that a lot of people think that we do. We don't need money in our hands because Black people are not financially educated. Okay, because we never had no money. We don't have generational wealth. Okay, so we need education. Give everybody 850 credit score. Okay, let us start from there. Give everybody the ability to be able to go to college. Give us better housing or an allowance to be able to get better housing. Put us on equal playing field because it you know what I'm saying, the levels have been different
Yeah.
since we've been here.
Yeah.
And the healing will start.
What do you think about that, Robert?
I think there are some great Black leaders right now that are great role models and examples of how they can help people going forward. Candace Owens is great. Larry Elder is great. The football players now, he used to be an ex-football player. I can't remember his name right now, but he's out there all the time. People like that. That guy on Fox too, the stock market guy, who grew up in Harlem, and he made himself, he pulled himself up by the bootstraps and he became successful. And it's because of the country that he lives in provided him that opportunity. I think anybody, but what Essence is saying is true. Get educated, learn your history, treat people well, and people in return will treat you well. Good people. I think that good people will always treat good people well.
So anybody that's not treated well is not good people? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, if they're not treated well, that's not their fault. But what good people treat other good. It goes back and forth between people. It treat others like you would want to be treated yourself. It all starts with the individual.
Do you think our society, for example, white folks in our society, on the most part, treat Black people good or bad?
I think for the most part, good. I really do. I know, I like all people. To me, I don't even see color. I just see character, like I said before. I'm Latin, so I'm not, lily white like a lot of, and I don't have any problems with any ethnicity. I just see character in people, regardless of age or color or anything. I've always felt that way.
So, Essence, do you think mostly white people treat most Black people well?
I think that they treat us as well as they possibly can, depending on the person. Everybody is different, but racism is alive and well.
Yeah.
And not all white people treat all Black people the same.
Right.
Okay. And
So,
I understand why a lot of white people think that otherwise. I understand that because they don't have to deal with what we deal with on the regular, like every day.
no. So do you think Black people typically treat white people well?
I think that for the most part, there is a Stockholm syndrome that exists within a lot of Black people.
Yeah.
and it stems from, it comes from religion, it comes from the beatings from our ancestors that was passed down to us. We've never been debriefed from slavery, so there's still trauma that exists from all of that.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
How do Black people treat Black people?
That is a very good question. Now, I cannot speak for all Black people, but I treat Black people as royalty because I understand a little more of what is going on and what has happened to us. Not all Black people treat other Black people like that, but I can tell you that all Black people are traumatized, and their trauma manifests in different ways, even in our interactions with each other.
Well, I think this has been a good conversation, and I look forward to next week. Next week, we'll try to get into more detail about the Civil War and how that played out, and whether or not that's solved anything, or did it just change what racism looks like, So, Robert, you're going to be able to make it for that conversation?
Oh yeah, I look forward to it.
Okay, Essence?
I have to check my calendar and I will get back with you.
Okay, well, I hope you both can make it. Now, thank you both for your time and your comments and speaking your mind. And I will have this on YouTube probably in about, it's going to be probably around 11 o'clock. It ain't going to make 10:30, but that's okay. And I will send you a link to it, and please share all you want. And thank you very much for the conversation.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Essence.
Thank you. I had fun, gentlemen.
Okay.
And thanks for tuning in to Conversations About America. Please tune in each and every Sunday evening for your weekly dose of educational entertainment. And be sure and check out Essence's podcast, Deceptively Unique. And be sure to read Robert's book, Eagles Claws for Freedom's Cause. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you both, and you all have a wonderful rest of the evening.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.